So we're going to start our morning out. We've got our first service call is going to be for a no hot water. Our first call, actually both of our calls are in Ridgetown today, so we're going to head up to Ridgetown to our first business, which is Ideas Homes and Design Incorporated. This is the noise of the shop in the morning.
There we go.
Anyway, yeah, so we're going to get on the road and head out there and see what we can do to help somebody out. Residentially here, but there's also lots of great commercial work that I get to do. Because this area has so many different towns and places that are so spread out, I get to see so much of this area. And where I lived in the GTA for over 20 years, it's like, oh, there, your travel time between jobs was 5 minutes, typically between areas. But out here, it's like I get to see all this beautiful, agricultural space. I get to work in places I've never worked before. Like in the GTA, there was no farms that I ever visited, but here there is. Just the variety of personalities and people out here is absolutely, I think, fantastic. So that's part of what keeps the job fresh for me. Because every day I get to meet and deal with different people. I get to problem solve and come up with solutions, which is very satisfying. I feel a sense of accomplishment with every job that I'm able to perform successfully, which makes me happy at the end of the day. It makes me want to come back and wake up in the morning and come out and do my job. Whereas, working in different industries outside of doing HVAC, like throughout my life, things, for my personality type, at least anyway, got boring and stagnant really quickly. So it's just nice to be in a place where I also feel valued, Here at Postma, I also feel like my employers make me feel valued. I don't feel like I'm just another cog in the wheel. I feel like my input is taken seriously, and it's satisfying. Yeah. 8 York Street, and I know that we're here to have a look at a water heater that's up on the second floor. I'm just not sure exactly where the entrance point is or how to get up to it. I was just curious if you maybe had some information there. Oh, beautiful. Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. Okay, bye-bye. Entering the system, so one of these pipes is for exhaust. The gray one up here is your exhaust, but then the black pipe that's up here is bringing combustion air into the unit. So when that comes into the unit,
comes right out the wall there. I can see where they are.
So no, it's not like water's not coming in. It's the heat from inside the unit meeting the air that's coming into the unit.
Yeah.
That will make sometimes throw sensors off. There's different reasons that it won't start. So it could be that there's a blockage in the drain.
Yeah.
Or in the exhaust, which I seriously doubt.
Yeah.
And then it can also be things like if the combustion motor, let's say, is burnt out, it doesn't start. Well, there's a pressure switch that's waiting to see if there's a certain amount of pressure generated by the combustion motor, and so if the combustion motor is not turning, same thing will happen. Same thing with water. So if water gets in there, which is not abnormal, right? Like a lot of these things are made to condense, just like in furnace, there's water that rolls back through the exhaust. But that's the thing, if it fills up too much where it's not draining properly. Sorry, you can turn that off. Thanks.
I think I found you.
Perfect.
22132, Torrey Cross Road.
You got it. That's it.
All right, let's get you set up.
What do we have going on at our next call? Golf course, 2 AC units not working in the pro shop and the banker room. Well, we're going to go have a look at those. It's kind of impossible to guess what the actual problem might be, but if 2 units are down, it gets me to thinking that it might be something electrically related, but we'll find out when we get there. So, let's roll. Well, what's going on is that we got a call from this business, and their concern was that neither one of these ductless split units were providing any cold air to their banquet hall downstairs. When we got here, the units downstairs were running and just blowing warm air, which is generally speaking an indication that we're a little low on refrigerant. So we're going to check out our refrigerant pressures and temperatures just to see and confirm that A, we either have refrigerant in the system and that there may be some other issue, or that B, we don't have any refrigerant in the system, in which case means we have a leak that we will have to try to find. So what we're dealing with here are systems that are at an age where they use refrigerant that is not manufactured anymore in our industry. So if they are out of refrigerant, unfortunately, we're going to have to break the bad news to the business owner and let them know that they were probably going to have to replace these. But we're going to find that out in just a minute here. After I get my gauges hooked up, and you see how much refrigerant there is in the system. seems a little bit low. But the condenser fan is not running, which means that the compressor is not running, which means that we can't really check the pressures properly. So what I have to do first is confirm that we have power going to the units. The breakers were all turned on downstairs. This disconnect seems to be a little bit broken. I'm going to open it up and just find out whether or not we've got any power going into the unit. Yeah, so they're disconnected if you look here. So even though the latch on the outside is broken, it's not always the end of the world. Sometimes we can turn it on, but the problem is that you need two of these little arms inside to be able to flip the switch. So this one here isn't able to turn on that. So we're just going to manually flip it on. It's literally just the light switch. And we'll see what happens here in just a second.
And we're looking for the fan to come on?
Essentially, yeah, once the fan comes on, there's a compressor that's in here as well, and that's what actually pumps the refrigerant through the system, so that's what we're kind of waiting for. Because there is pressure in the system, but just having standing pressure on the gauge alone does not mean that the refrigerant pressures are where they should be. So even though it's showing me that it was 105 psi standing, once this thing starts running, it could drop as low as 30 psi for running pressure, and that would be way, way under this type of refrigerant. And if it's that far under, it means that it's almost empty, and there's still not a whole lot we can do. Communication issue, because when you turn the unit on inside and you set it for cooling, it sends a little 24-volt signal up to that contactor that I pushed in that made everything come on. And when it sends that signal up, it basically pulls the contactor in and fires everything up. So this one we know is running down there, but the condenser fan is not come on. So sometimes what you need to do is go down and ask them for the remote control of the unit, because sometimes people just don't know how to actually turn it on. Like just because the fan's running downstairs does not mean that it's set for a different issue. When you put your gauges on, there's usually a little bit of a hiss or like some flashback. 0 psi. So this one is going to have to be replaced because it's R22 and there's not anything else in the market.
Yeah. Alright, hit it.
Well, today was a pretty good day. We had our wins and we had our losses. Nothing's really a loss ever in this industry. It's just growing and learning moments. So we know our first call of the day took us a little longer than expected. The result wasn't great. We weren't not able to get hot water today, but there's definitely larger issues going on with that unit. We did pretty much everything that we could. We called on experience from fellow technicians. We also called technical support of the company that manufactures the unit multiple times. And with all of those heads together, we were still unable to come up with the perfect solution. But we're going to go back there in the morning with a new plan and a fresh head. We're going to get things taken care of. Our second call today was a bigger one. We had 4 different ductless split units at a golf course that we had to look at fixing. 2 of them were a pretty quick, easy fix, where it just came down to a matter of, user error. The customer did not understand how to use the controller that operates the ductless heads, but we explained and showed them how to use that to avoid that in the future. So those are both working. One of our units was completely out of refrigerant, and unfortunately for the customer, it runs on an older refrigerant which is not manufactured anymore. So that's an opportunity for replacement that they're happy to go forward with. So we're going to look at doing that for them. And then the last unit we looked at this golf course was a pretty simple one. We figured it out pretty quickly, but it was just a bad capacitor. So we got that changed out. So we got 3 of the 4 ductless split units in that building working again. And everybody was pretty happy and thankful that they were able to get some cold air back into their legs. So overall on the day, like I say, nothing's ever a win or a loss. Everything's a win as long as we diagnose issues and get repairs underway and get people happy again, which is what we did today. So yeah, successful day.